What is being vulnerable? The word vulnerability is not a very likable word. Vulnerability to us is a consequence of the fact that there are forces outside of us that are hostile, aggressive, inimical. Because we need to protect and defend ourselves against these forces, we need to have armors, protection, defenses made of thought. We do not want to be vulnerable. We want to be defended. The moment somebody says that vulnerability is a virtue, we feel being vulnerable means exposing ourselves to attack. What we forget is the basics of duality. You are attacked only as long as there is something to be attacked. And when there is something to be attacked, you would always feel attacked or threatened to be attacked. And it is not as if the universe is conspiring against you. It is just that the self that you have built up lives on a diet of threats. It is not as if all the arrows and bullets are aiming at you. It is just that the armor that you have raised is justified only by arrows and bullets. It would look very stupid if we say that I have a thick armor when there is no threat of bullets. But because you must have an armor, so what you see is only guns and bullets all around you. Vulnerability does not mean dropping your armor and getting hit by bullets. Remember, the moment the armor drops, the bullets also drop. Vulnerability scares us because we do not understand that the world has no objective existence of its own. We do not see that the world is not separate from us. We think that we may change, but the world will remain the same. We think that the self and the world exist independently. So we say, so what if we become nice? The world is such a bad place that the nice man cannot survive. we think that even if we become nice, whatever that means, we think that even if we become nice, the world would continue to remain a wicked place. We have simply not observed well enough, and we have not been educated in the basics of duality. How can the world remain wicked when you have dropped your wickedness? So vulnerability does not mean being defenseless against a hostile world. Vulnerability simply means that having armors is stupid, because there is actually nothing out there having enmity against you. There is simply nothing out there that is disposed unfavorably against you. Vulnerability means relaxation. Vulnerability means that if you are getting hit, then what is getting hit deserves to get hit, and what is getting hit is just getting highlighted as the next item that must disappear from your mind. And if you get hit, it is a matter of gratitude, because you did not know that there still exists something within you that could get hit. You did not know that you still had weak spots. And it's wonderful that a situation arose in which you could see that the world still has control over you, that there is something within you which is arranged against the world, and that is why it sees that the world is arranged against itself. Yes, when you feel offended, when you feel hurt, it is a matter of concern. But it is not a matter of concern because somebody offended you or hurt you. It is a matter of concern because getting offended or hurt indicates that you are carrying stuff within yourself that can get offended or hurt. So when you get hurt, look not at the person or the situation that hurt you. Look inwards. How is it possible that I am carrying stuff that is vulnerable to hurt? And remember, before this situation becomes obvious that something has hurt you, the stuff is already there. Before the hurt presents itself, it is already present in an unmanifested form. Before that man comes and hurts you, you have already declared to yourself that you would be hurt if such a man comes and says something to you. In that sense, you are the one who has first of all made an enemy of that man. He did not come and hurt you first. Even before he came to hurt you, you were the one who had declared to yourself that if he says such and such things, I will get hurt. So who was the one who first divided the world from the self? Who was the one who first divided the world itself into good and bad? You did that, right? You tell yourself that if X comes and says A to you, you would feel bad. And there is no reason. If you see, these are just random declarations that we make to ourselves. If X comes and says A to me, I would feel bad about it. Very random thing. Now one day X indeed does come and says A, and then you say, I have felt bad and I am hurt. Now what does X have to do with it? Yes, X did say A, but you were the one who had pre-decided that you would get hurt the moment you hear A from X. Vulnerability means not pre-deciding. Vulnerability means X can come and say A, Y can come and say B. I have no reason to have decided in advance that I would get hurt. And remember, hurt is never spontaneous. Hurt is always pre-decided. You very well know, sitting here right at this moment, what would hurt you. In fact, you know a lot even about your neighbor. You know what would hurt your neighbor. And that is why you can so easily hurt him. You may know a little less about what would hurt people who are strangers to you, but you know so much about what would hurt your husband or your wife. It is so easy, therefore, to hurt them. And that is also what we mean by knowing somebody. Knowing what pleases him and knowing what hurts him. And when we know what pleases somebody and when we know what displeases somebody, then grandly we rise and say that we know that person. What do you know about him? You only know his conditioning. You only know what gives him pleasure and what does not give him pleasure. Therefore, your relationship with that man would always be of hurt and pleasure. When you would give him displeasure, you would hurt him. When you would give him pleasure, he would say you love him, which is obviously not love at all. Now, vulnerability, therefore, should not be mistaken as being nice in all situations. All that vulnerability means is that the seeds of hurt are not present. That I am not pre-hurt in advance. Is that not so? Our hurt only gets exposed at the moment of hurt, but it has existed within us since long, has it not? We are pre-hurt. All we need is to be unwrapped and heated a little. Otherwise, we are ready to be eaten. Pre-cooked, pre-salted, roasted. Just a little bit of boiling water is needed and the hurt becomes apparent. In that sense, all of us are like walking bundles of sores. We are like bodies full of wounds and sores. Even if a gentle breeze grazes against us, we feel hurt. What does the breeze have to do with your pain? You have been walking with all these wounds all over your body and mind. Anything hurts you. Vulnerability means I do not know. Vulnerability means I am not afraid. When you know so much, when you are conscious that even the breeze is going to hurt you, you are obviously afraid, right, of the breeze. You know how you avoid so many things, don't you? Anybody here who does not avoid something or the other? When you are avoiding something, are you not afraid? You very well know that if you come across that thing, that man or that situation, you would be hurt. You want to avoid that. So you are pre-hurt. You are already hurt. That is why you want to avoid that situation. You don't want to avoid the hurt. You just want to avoid the hurt being exposed. Hurt you already are. Walking bundles of hurt. Vulnerability means I am not pre-hurt. Let the moment come, let the situation come. If the situation has to pierce me, let it pierce me. I will cry at the moment. But I have not been crying 2 nights in advance. When the joke comes, I will burst into laughter. But I have not been preparing to laugh. Now I am totally vulnerable to the joke. I am totally vulnerable to the joke. When the joke comes, I am ready. I am always ready. And why am I ready? Because I am not pre-ready. What if you have been preparing for a joke since a week? You have killed the joke. Have you not? And that is how we kill life. When the moment comes, I am up to it. I am one with it. I do not need a separation. I do not need a boundary, an armor, a defense. I do not know what my response would be. Is your laughter premeditated? Are your tears premeditated? That is vulnerability. Vulnerability is like that beautiful green leaf dancing in the wind. The wind is there and the leaf is responding to it. That is vulnerability. Come the wind, come the dance. No wind, no dance. The wind and the dance are one. The wind and the leaf are one. And the leaf has not decided to dance, and the leaf has not decided to not to dance. This is vulnerability. Well, if the breeze is good enough, the breeze will make me dance. I have not decided to dance. It depends on the breeze. And I have not decided not to dance. If there is that beautiful breeze, then who am I to decide to not to dance? It is not in my control. I have given up that arrogance that I control my life. The winds control my life. And in that sense, I control the winds. So my life is not my life at all, because what I usually call as my life is just a confrontation of me against the world. And the wind and the leaf are one organic unit. There can be no leaf without the wind. And the entire air would get poisoned the day the leaf vanishes. I am repeating, a vulnerable man is not one who exposes himself to hurt. The vulnerable man is the one who can no longer be hurt. Your definition of vulnerability is just your defense against being vulnerable. That is a good, very smart ploy, is it not? Give all the right things the wrong definitions so that you can avoid them. Everything that is beautiful must be defined wrongly by you so that you can avoid it. See how crudely we have defined vulnerability. We say vulnerability means exposing ourselves. Vulnerability means being at the mercy of the world. And the vulnerable man suffers and suffers a lot. What rubbish is this?